Finally, the Premier League has landed on Sorare.
So this is the SorareScout Beginner's Guide to the Premier League. You're probably a little bit hesitant about playing, but we're going to answer all your questions.
In this video, we're going to talk about some of the questions that we were asking when we first started out on the game to give you a head start on your Sorare journey.
So you might be coming over from FIFA, Ultimate Team, or FPL. This is your guide and how this game differs. So I introduced you to Sorare. I remember you asking me lots of questions. So let's get on and answer some of those.
Yeah, so obviously the Premier League now it's landed. What do you think this means for Sorare in terms of like where it's going?
So obviously the Premier League joining is the final piece of the puzzle. Sorare have got the license for all the big leagues, and the Premier League has always been the holy grail. Number one, it stops other rival platforms from being able to get these licenses. So that means that Sorare have created a bit of a monopoly, which is a good thing for players. Number two, it's the Premier League have their own licensed product called a Fantasy Premier League, and that's got over 8 million users. So that is a huge audience. The Premier League's the biggest audience in the world. It's a worldwide brand, and for them to start doing promotions, their own marketing through their own channels as a partnership, that's going to bring a lot of users, and a lot of users that probably not sure about this because it's blockchain related, etc., etc. But those players are now going to have the endorsement of the Premier League to say that this is legit and go and give it a go. That is why it is huge. It is bringing the mainstream to the game.
Yeah, totally agree. So yeah, with that said, what do you think the main difference between Sorare and FPL is?
Okay, so before I found Sorare, I was playing FPL religiously for a good 6-7 years. I think I had a really high score one year. I think came like 2,000 out of 7 million. And the things that I learned on that game, I was easily able to translate over to Sorare. So it's very similar in a way, because in FPL, the scoring matrix is based off OptaStats. And that's a third-party supplier of real game scores. So, for example, if a wing-back gets a successful cross, they get a point, 2 points. In Sorare, it's the same thing. You can break it down by player and their actual scoring matrix. You can see how many successful crosses they had, for example. They had like key passes, all that kind of thing, assists, tackles, that kind of thing. So it's the scoring's out of 100, which on Sorare, and so 100 is the max that you get, and you get a base starting score of 35. So I won't go into too much about the scoring matrix. With Sorare now bringing in the free-to-play version, there isn't much difference really. So Sorare have actually spotted Fantasy Premier League as an audience target, and over the past year they have been bringing out the free-to-play model that is based on Fantasy Premier League. So you can create your own leagues with your friends, all that stuff. But it is essentially where you draft your team, and it is based on real scores in real life, so you can enjoy that.
Yeah. So one of the main differences, I think, is the fact that Sorare allow you to keep your cards. So at the end of the season, the cards that you buy or the cards that you've drafted are going to be your cards. So with FPL, at the end of the season, that's it. Everything goes back to zero. All that time you spent accruing points and building out your teams, that is all. It's all finished with Sorare. It carries on, so everything you've built stays with you. But I think another one of the differences is the fact that with FPL, it's at the end of the season is your prize time, where with Sorare it's every game week, and there's 2 game weeks within a week. So basically you're getting a prize. If you do well, you're getting a prize twice weekly. And that also you can win cards that you can sell, and you can obviously progress then up. With FPL, there's no real progression. You're stuck with what you've got, and that's it till the end of the season when it all gets scrapped and you have to start again. So there is a progression with Sorare.
Another difference between FPL and Sorare is that you can actually earn and win cards that you can sell on the open market, the secondary market. So with FPL, everyone does cash leagues between their friends, but the prizes aren't that great. At the end of the season, you get VIP tickets and stuff like that. For 8 million users, let's face it, it's not great, is it? Must be a licensing thing, don't know, or a gambling thing. With Sorare, twice a week, because the game weeks are twice a week, you can win limited cards, and that is a big difference. It's a free-to-play model, but you can still win prizes every twice a week. So another question that you might want to know, what happens to my card when a player leaves a club?
Yeah, so it's one of the questions that I asked. I was a bit worried when I was buying my cards, and I thought, well, if I buy a player that's playing for Bayern Munich, for instance, and they move team, does that card then become a dead card? But with Sorare, you're not really investing in the card or the club. You're actually investing in the actual player. So if you buy a player in his early days, the likes of Mbappe, you're going to have that card. Whether he moves from PSG now, wherever he moves to, you've got that card throughout his whole career, basically. So you can see how these cards have got utility for like years to come, and that's why some of the cards are quite expensive.
It also brings in the collectible factor that you could get, a rookie Mbappe, at 17 when he was at Monaco. And that would be a collectible, because when you play that card, even though he's moved on, say, to Real Madrid in 5 years and breaks all the records, you'd have that Mbappe card when he's got his Monaco kit on, because the cards don't change, the artwork doesn't change, which is interesting.
So one of the questions other people might be asking is, what happens to the cards at the end of the season? Do they stay with you, or is that the end of the card?
Yeah, so this is a good example in terms of FIFA Ultimate Team. So when the new game comes out, you have to reset your team. You lose all your assets. So when you go, if you want to play the new version, you've basically wasted all your money. I know it's an enjoyment factor, but still, you want to be able to own these items. So at the end of the Sorare season, nothing changes. You get to keep the cards, you put them in training, and you wait for the new season to start. That's one of the good things. These are your assets. You could sell them, or you could keep them. You could do whatever you want. With the free-to-play version, obviously the common cards there, you can't sell them. The next scarcity up limited, that they're the ones that you can sell. But nothing happens really. The season just ends and it starts up again. You use that time to be strategic and go and find some scouting and find players that have gone down in price.
Yeah, I think another interesting thing about that is, I think a lot of players, when it comes to the end of the season, they actually sell the cards on. So because different leagues are starting at different times, like people that have been playing in Europe will sell the European cards to buy like American cards and stuff like that. So there's a trading aspect of it as well, which I find quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So a stumbling block for some players might be the fact that it's on blockchain and Ethereum. If you're not into like cryptocurrency, then do you think that is a stumbling block for people?
Yeah, definitely a stumbling block for people. One of the reasons that this game's going to, move to the next level is, the UX and the way that players can easily, look at that. What's good about Sorare is it's very hidden in the background. They make it so that any player can play the game without really even knowing that it's on the blockchain. The blockchain side of it's really important because it gives transparency, so you can see what the biggest player on the game is doing, who they're buying, who they're selling, how much money they've made. Sorare data is great for that. I think they've hidden the stats out you have to say premium member or something. But in terms of this, everything's out in the open, and with the Web3 movement, it's all about decentralization, and transparency, and that's one of the things that I really love about this. In terms of new players come into the game, you generally can use your credit card a debit card to actually put some money into the game. So soon there'll be an off-ramp as well that you'll be able to send that money back into your bank account. It's not here just yet, but it is on the way. But that I'd say that is one thing that you've got to consider. We've got an article about that, so check out how to withdraw your money from the game as well.
I didn't really know anything about ETH and stuff like that, and then when I started, it was you very much did have to learn that, because there was no credit card or anything like that, no debit card. But now I think it's a lot easier. Well, the thing with the blockchain is this is what powers the game. So this is what makes your cards truly unique. Without the blockchain, then there's no proof that there's only so many of these cards. So that's the importance of it, really, and that's why they use it. It's not. At first, I thought it's like an internet money thing, gimmick, but it's not. There's a reason behind it, and the reason behind it is it's basically proven if you've got the first ever card of the edition, that's proven that there's only one of them, and that's how it works, basically.
In 20 years' time, that'll be extremely important if you've got a very collectible card, because you can prove that it's real. Also, it shows like a ledger. It shows the different owners of that card. So, like PK, for example, from he was a big player in the game, and you could own one of his cards that he used to own, which again adds an extra level of value.
Yeah, it's really good because you can actually look back and see how much it was bought for and sold for, and the whole from it actually being minted. You can follow the whole pattern of what's happened to that card. So it's and that's basically what the blockchain does. It keeps and you mentioned transparency. It's so everyone can see it. So there's no underhand. They can't like sell 100 cards and I go, I'll tell you what, we'll mint another 100 cards. It can't be done because it's everyone can see it. There's a way of looking. So it keeps everything above board and level and a fair playing field, really.
E.g. Football Index. Do some research on that.
Yeah.
One of the things that you can do part of the SO5, which is the actual game itself, who do you use as your extra out player?
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to here is when you're setting up a lineup, you get 5 players. You get the keeper, defender, midfielder, forward, and the 5th player has got to be an outfield player, so you get an extra player to put in. Me personally, you're obviously looking for the player that's going to score the most. For me, I try and put a forward in because a forward's got more chance of getting a goal, and obviously goals are going to be score you extra points. There is exceptions to the rule. When you get a really good defender, I think like a central defender, if you get a really good one, they can rack up points without scoring a goal. So when you get a really good one, and you do find them as you're playing the game, you'll realise which cards you put in there. So the likes of I use Otamendi as one of mine. He's a central defender, Benfica. And he doesn't need any goals, doesn't need assists. He just smashes out good scores week in, week out. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. If I'm stuck, I always go for a forward because there's always the chance that he could nod one in. Or
I always put in a defender, just because number one, they could score well. They get an assist or a goal, they're hitting 100. So with a striker, the striker's going to hit 30 or they're going to hit 65.
I remember when you first started out, you always advised me to put a forward in.
Yeah, well,
it changes, doesn't it?
Of course it does. It does.
You learn, don't you?
It depends on your team as well. So how do you choose your captain?
So choosing my captain, I think it's a similar situation to the extra player. So obviously, again, you're looking for someone that's going to score the highest. That's what you want because he's going to get extra.
Yeah, he gets 25%, is it?
Yeah, I think it's 25%. It's dependent as well. So some competitions don't have captain at all. But in general, you're looking for someone that's going to score the most, and you're going to get 25% extra on top of the score that he gets. So for me, again, I'm looking for someone that's going to get a decisive, because I find that works for me.
Yeah.
So decisives. Do you want to list off the decisives?
Yeah, so a decisive is basically when a player starts, they start out on 35 points. If they come on as a sub, they start at 25. So you start at 35, and then the scoring matrix starts adding points based on whatever they do. They do a tackle, for example, they get three extra points. So to get a decisive, you then jump to 60 points. So it's an extra 25 points. So decisive could be a goal, an assist, a penalty won, a clean sheet from the keeper, a last man tackle, and a goal line clearance. I believe that's them all. So if you get one of those, you go up 25 points. If you get two of them, you get an extra 10 points every single decisive. And remember that it can only go up to 100. So if you get like 5 decisives, very rare, then you still capped at 100.
Yeah, and the other thing to add to that is once you get to the first decisive, you can't go below that. So unless you get a negative decisive.
Yeah, so there's negative decisives too. Red cards, conceding it being it's your fault because you conceded the goal. And conceding a penalty and stuff like that, that takes you down the same order. So the first one will take you down 15, I think.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different, and then it's 10 every single time. So they can balance out. Actually, you see it sometimes where someone will have caused the penalty. Like your keeper could, concede a penalty but then save it. So it sort of can balance itself out. It's an interesting dynamic. So do you think people have missed the Sorare boat?
If you'd have asked me this 3 months ago, I would have said possibly you've missed out really. But I think as times changed and we're in a totally different market now, with the crypto the way it is, I think it's come back round, and I think we're at a point now where I think it's a good time. I mean, no financial advice because we don't do that, but I think now is a good time to get back on the boat. I think the boat's come back.
Boat's returned.
I think the boat's returned to pick up the stragglers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think like the Prem joining is going to take Sorare to mass adoption, and because of the crypto market and the market in general out there in terms of recession stuff like that, the wallets are a lot tighter. Sorare's prices for cards are at a reasonable rate. It means that people can come in and it's not crazy money to start playing, especially in limiteds. So this is a great time to get involved. Not financial advice, but with the Prem coming, these numbers on this game are going to go up, and then it's scarcity times demand, and that's how the market will operate. But what I'd say is come and play for fun. I think this is a fun game, and it can work for anyone's budget. You just have to find your level, and that's the great thing about Sorare. You got the free-to-play version, the limited version. For people that want to spend a bit more money, you got the rares and onwards. So I don't think the boat's been missed now at all.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's changed. At one point, they didn't have as many competition free-to-play. I mean, it's always had like a small free-to-play, but it weren't really engaging. There weren't a lot going on. But I think now, with this new onboarding system and the new academies that are there, I think it's a really good time to start the free-to-play version, and then you can actually, like we've said before, you can work your way up through the ranks, and there's progression now, which that was never there before. So I think it's a really good time actually to do. So Sorare's grown exponentially over the last 3 years, and it seems to be getting bigger and bigger. What do you think the future holds for Sorare?
Yeah, so Sorare speak about this a lot, and with them bringing on NBA and the MLB, the baseball, Sorare want to get all the sports, and they want to be a sports entertainment company. So how I see that working is, it's not just about football. This is about cross promotion between sports. So I could sell a basketball card. I could trade a basketball card for a football card. I also think that they will go on to start getting some of the TV licensing, so that if you own a card, you'd be able to watch the actual game that card's involved directly through the platform. I've also talked about bringing custom artwork in from artists in terms of the collectible side too. There's lots of talk about like Babe Ruth cards that were going for a lot of money. Pokemon cards, very popular, especially now. Limited edition Harry Potter books, first editions of those. I see Sorare being the version of that in 20, 30 years. With it being on the blockchain and digital, people are going to want these collectibles just because basically the limited version of those, and the nostalgia version too. And if there's any platform that's going to be, it's going to be Sorare, I'm sure of it. So hopefully that's helped you in your decision to play the game, or you've just started playing. Just remember, take your time, make sure it works for your budget.
Play for free. See if you enjoy it. You might not, but if you're a football fan, I just can't see why you're not going to enjoy this game.
Have fun with it, and yeah, thanks for watching this video, and check out some of our other videos.